Welcome to the English Podcast.
For listening and speaking.
Picture this. You walk into a room full of strangers, and without saying a word, you already know who's confident, who's nervous, and who's definitely lying about being happy to be there.
That's the magic of body language. I'm Emily, and I'm absolutely fascinated by how our bodies tell stories we don't even realize we're sharing.
And I'm Brian. While Emily gets excited about every raised eyebrow, I prefer the logical side, understanding the science behind why we unconsciously mirror each other's movements.
Today, we're diving deep into understanding body language. Learn English while reading the room. You should definitely stay with us because we're covering nonverbal cues across different cultures.
And here's our first audience question. Sarah from Tokyo asks, why do some gestures that seem friendly in my country make people uncomfortable in others?
Oh, Sarah, you've hit the jackpot of cultural confusion. Brian, you might want to explain why a thumbs up could get someone in trouble in the Middle East.
Well, Emily's being dramatic as usual, but she's not wrong. What we consider positive gestures could be deeply offensive elsewhere. We ought to understand these differences before traveling.
Dramatic? Brian, I'm passionate. There's a difference. Anyway, listeners, here's our second question from Ahmed in Cairo. How can I tell if someone is genuinely interested in what I'm saying?
Ahmed, you should look for genuine micro-expressions, not just polite nodding. But we'll get to that in section 4. First, let's make sure everyone subscribes and hits that notification bell.
Yes, and comment below with your most embarrassing body language misunderstanding. I'll share mine later. It involves accidentally insulting an entire Italian family with my hand gestures. Wait, before we dive deeper, let me share a fascinating story that happened to me last week. I was at a coffee shop, and I watched this incredible interaction between a job interviewer and candidate through the window.
Emily, you were eavesdropping again, weren't you? But I'm curious, what did you observe that was so fascinating about their body language?
I wasn't eavesdropping. I was conducting field research. Anyway, the interviewer started with perfect open posture, leaning slightly forward, hands uncrossed, making steady eye contact. Classic, I'm interested in you body language.
That's textbook positive interviewing posture. What about the candidate? Were they mirroring this openness or showing signs of nervousness?
Here's where it got interesting. The candidate started nervous, fidgeting with their resume, sitting on the edge of their chair, minimal eye contact. But then something magical happened around minute 5.
They started mirroring the interviewer's posture? That's a good sign. When people feel more comfortable, they naturally begin to copy the body language of people they want to connect with.
Exactly. Their shoulders relaxed, they leaned back slightly, started using hand gestures while speaking, and by the end, both of them were laughing and completely synchronized in their movements. It was like watching a body language dance.
That story perfectly leads us into our next major section. Workplace body language. This is where many English learners struggle most because professional environments have their own unique nonverbal rules.
Oh, workplace body language is crucial. I've seen so many talented people get overlooked for promotions simply because their nonverbal communication didn't match their skills. Brian, you should explain the hierarchy signals first.
In most Western corporate environments, higher status individuals tend to take up more space. They spread out their materials, use larger gestures, and maintain more direct eye contact. Lower status employees often minimize their physical presence.
This is so important for our international listeners. If you're naturally from a culture that values humility and small physical presence, you might accidentally signal lower status in Western workplaces, even when you're highly qualified.
Here's a practical example. In team meetings, you should sit with good posture, make eye contact when speaking, and use confident hand gestures. But avoid dominating the space or seeming aggressive.
And with everyone working remotely now, we need to talk about video call body language. The rules completely change when you're on screen. Your posture, eye contact, and even hand placement become more important because people can see everything in that little box.
Virtual body language is fascinating. You need to look directly at the camera to make eye contact, not at the screen. and your hand gestures should stay within the frame boundaries or you'll look like you're flailing around.
Camera angle is everything. Position your camera at eye level to avoid that unflattering upward angle that makes you look like you're in a horror movie. And make sure your lighting comes from in front of you, not behind you.
Here's something most people don't realize. On video calls, your micro-expressions become magnified. That slight frown or eye roll that might go unnoticed in person becomes obvious on camera. You need to be more aware of your facial expressions.
Let's talk about something fascinating: generational differences in body language. Gen Z communicates completely differently than baby boomers, and this creates huge misunderstandings in multi-generational workplaces.
Younger generations tend to have more relaxed posture, use different hand gestures influenced by digital communication, and have varying comfort levels with eye contact. Older generations often interpret this as disrespectful or unprofessional.
But here's the thing: neither generation is wrong. They just have different body language dialects. A Gen Z person might text while talking, which they see as multitasking, but a boomer sees as rude and dismissive.
This brings us to an interesting question from our listener Alex in Toronto. How does body language change in romantic relationships versus professional relationships? This is actually a great question about context switching.
Oh, Alex, you've opened a wonderful can of worms. In romantic contexts, body language becomes much more subtle and intimate. People lean in closer, mirror each other more intensely, and use prolonged eye contact that would be inappropriate in professional settings.
The key differences are proximity, touch, and intensity. In professional settings, you maintain social distance and minimal contact. In romantic settings, people naturally move into personal and intimate space zones.
And the touching. Light touches on the arm, shoulders, brushing, playing with hair or jewelry. These are all signals of romantic interest that would be completely inappropriate in a business meeting. Context is everything.
Speaking of context, let's move to one of the most challenging body language situations for English learners: presentations and public speaking. This is where your nonverbal communication can make or break your message.
Public speaking body language is terrifying for most people, but it's also exciting because small changes can have huge impacts. Brian, you should start with stance and positioning, since that's foundational.
Your stance should be stable and grounded, feet shoulder width apart, weight evenly distributed. Avoid swaying, pacing nervously, or shifting weight from foot to foot. These movements distract from your message and signal nervousness.
Hand gestures in presentations are like punctuation marks. They emphasize your points, but you need to make them bigger than normal conversation gestures because you're speaking to a larger audience. Think movie theater gestures, not coffee shop gestures.
The steeple gesture, touching your fingertips together, projects confidence and authority. Open palm gestures suggest honesty and inclusivity, but avoid pointing directly at individuals unless you're in a very casual, friendly setting.
Now I want to bust some major body language myths. Brian, there are so many misconceptions floating around on social media and in popular culture. We need to set the record straight for our listeners.
Myth number 1: crossed arms always means someone is defensive or closed off. This is completely false. People cross their arms when they're cold, when they're thinking deeply, when they're comfortable, or simply because it feels good.
Myth number 2, you can tell if someone is lying just by looking at their body language. This is dangerous nonsense. Individual body language signals don't definitively indicate deception. You need multiple indicators and context.
Myth number 3, looking to the left means lying. Looking to the right means remembering. This has been thoroughly debunked by research. Eye movement patterns vary dramatically between individuals and have no reliable connection to truthfulness.
Let's do a deep dive into specific cultural case studies. I want to walk you through real scenarios that our international listeners might encounter. First, let's visit a business meeting in Japan versus one in Germany. The body language rules are completely different.
In Japan, you should arrive early and wait to be seated. Bow when introduced. The depth depends on the seniority of the person. Keep your hands visible on the table. avoid pointing, and never interrupt anyone speaking. Silence is respected and shows you're listening thoughtfully.
Now contrast that with Germany. Arrive exactly on time, not early, not late. Firm handshakes, direct eye contact, and maintain professional distance. Germans appreciate directness, so your body language should be open but serious. Lean forward to show engagement, but don't smile too much or you'll seem insincere.
Let's explore Middle Eastern business etiquette. Personal relationships come first, so expect longer conversations about family and life before business. Handshakes may last longer than you're used to. Avoid showing the soles of your feet, and never use your left hand for important documents.
Family body language is another fascinating area. How children interact with parents, how siblings communicate, how extended families show respect. It's all culturally programmed from birth. Brian, you should explain the concept of power distance in family structures.
Power distance refers to how hierarchical relationships are expressed through body language. In high power distance cultures, children might avoid direct eye contact with parents, speak only when spoken to, and maintain formal posture even at home.
But wait, we're not done yet. I've been getting so many questions from listeners about specific situations they encounter. Let me share some of the most interesting ones and give you practical solutions for each scenario.
Emily's right, we've received hundreds of questions. Here's one from Lisa in Stockholm. How do I navigate body language differences when traveling for work? I'm constantly worried about offending people accidentally.
Lisa, this is such an important question for international business travelers. My first advice is to research your destination beforehand. Spend 30 minutes reading about greeting customs, appropriate personal space, and major gesture taboos before you travel.
For business travel, I recommend the observe first, then mirror approach. When you arrive at a meeting, watch how locals greet each other for the first few minutes. Notice the handshake style, eye contact duration, and personal space preferences, then adapt accordingly.
Here's another question from David in São Paulo. I work in international sales, and I'm struggling with reading my clients from different cultures. How can I tell if they're actually interested or just being polite?
David, this is crucial for sales success. Look for engagement clusters, genuine forward-leaning, uncrossed arms, and what I call active listening gestures, nodding at appropriate moments, raising eyebrows during key points, and maintaining comfortable eye contact.
But remember, David, politeness looks different everywhere. In some cultures, avoiding eye contact is respectful, not disinterested. In others, smiling constantly is expected, even when they're not buying. You need to learn the local, polite rejection signals.
Here's a fascinating question from Priya, an English teacher in Mumbai. How can I use body language to help my students feel more confident when speaking English? This opens up a whole discussion about body language in educational settings.
Priya, as a teacher, your body language sets the entire classroom tone. Use open, welcoming gestures. Spread your arms wide when introducing new concepts, nod encouragingly when students speak, and maintain that perfect balance between authority and approachability.
For students who seem nervous or withdrawn, you could try mirroring their energy level first, then gradually becoming more animated and confident. They'll often unconsciously follow your lead and become more expressive themselves.
Let's talk about body language in healthcare settings. This is absolutely critical. I received a question from Dr. Ahmed, a physician in Dubai. How can I use body language to build trust with patients from different cultural backgrounds?
Dr. Ahmed, healthcare body language is incredibly sensitive because patients are vulnerable. You should maintain open postures, avoid crossing your arms, and sit at the patient's eye level when possible. This reduces the power differential and makes them feel more comfortable.
And touch is incredibly complex in healthcare. Some cultures are comfortable with necessary medical touching. Others find it deeply uncomfortable. Always explain what you're doing and ask permission when culturally appropriate.
Let's explore body language in legal and formal settings. This is where cultural differences become most critical because the stakes are so high. A gesture misunderstood in court or during legal proceedings can have serious consequences.
In formal legal settings, your body language should be conservative and respectful. Maintain good posture, keep gestures minimal and controlled, and avoid any movements that could be interpreted as defiant or disrespectful to the court.
Now let's discuss something fascinating: how body language evolves throughout our lives. Children, teenagers, adults, and elderly people all have distinct nonverbal communication patterns that reflect their developmental stages and cultural experiences.
Children's body language is so pure and unfiltered. They haven't learned to hide their emotions yet. When a child is happy, their whole body shows it. Bouncing, gesturing wildly, huge, genuine smiles. When they're upset, they literally can't hide it.
Teenagers develop more complex body language as they navigate identity formation. They might adopt exaggerated postures, experiment with different gestures they've seen in media, and often display conflicting signals as they figure out who they want to be.
Adults typically develop more controlled and strategic body language. We learn to manage our expressions, use appropriate gestures for different contexts, and read subtle social cues. But this can sometimes make us less authentic than children.
Elderly individuals often return to more authentic expression, similar to children, but with the wisdom of experience. Their gestures might be smaller due to physical limitations, but often more meaningful and deliberate.
Here's something most people don't realize. Body language varies significantly even within the same country. Think about the differences between New York and rural Alabama, or between northern and southern Italy. Regional cultures create distinct body language dialects.
In the United States, for example, people from the Northeast tend to use more direct eye contact and faster gestures, while Southerners often employ more indirect communication styles and slower, more deliberate movements. These regional differences can cause misunderstandings even among Americans.
Let's talk about social event body language. Whether you're at a networking event, a party, or a wedding, your body language determines whether people want to approach you or avoid you. Brian, you should explain the approachable versus closed-off signals.
At social events, approachable body language includes facing outward toward the room, keeping your arms uncrossed, making brief eye contact with people as they walk by, and maintaining an open, relaxed posture. Avoid looking at your phone constantly or standing in corners.
The holding a drink position is crucial at networking events. Hold your drink in your left hand so your right hand is available for handshakes, and position yourself near high-traffic areas like entrances or refreshment tables. People naturally gather there.
Let's do some intensive body language exercises that you can practice right now, wherever you're listening to this. These are designed to help you develop better awareness and control of your own nonverbal communication.
Exercise 1. The confidence calibration. Stand up and assume what you think is a confident posture. Now exaggerate everything by 20%. Chest out more, shoulders back further, chin up higher. This is probably what confident actually looks like to others.
1.
Exercise 3. The energy matching game. Next time you're in a conversation, consciously match the other person's energy level. If they're animated, be more animated. If they're calm, be calmer. Notice how this changes the dynamic of your interaction.
Exercise 4. The baseline establishment. Choose 3 people you interact with regularly: a family member, colleague, and friend. Spend 1 week consciously observing their normal body language patterns to establish their baselines.
Let's analyze some famous people and their signature body language. This is so fun and educational. Think about celebrities, politicians, and business leaders you've seen on TV. They all have distinct nonverbal communication styles that contribute to their public personas.
Take someone like Barack Obama. He's known for his deliberate, measured gestures, steady eye contact, and controlled posture that projects calm authority. Compare that to someone like Donald Trump, who uses larger, more animated gestures and different facial expressions entirely.
Business leaders like Oprah Winfrey use incredibly warm, inclusive body language, open arms, genuine smiles, and forward-leaning posture that makes people feel heard and valued. This isn't accidental. It's cultivated over decades of public communication.
Before we wrap up completely, let me share our most comprehensive body language challenge for advanced learners. This is a week-long intensive program that will transform how you communicate non-verbally.
Ooh, I love challenges. This is going to be so good for our listeners. Day 1. Spend the entire day being hyper-aware of your own posture. Set phone reminders every hour to check in with your body. Are you slouching? Are your shoulders tense? How are you holding your head?
Day 2. Focus entirely on eye contact. In every conversation, consciously maintain appropriate eye contact for your culture. Notice how it changes the quality of your interactions and how people respond to you differently.
Day 3 is my favorite. Gesture awareness. Day. Pay attention to every hand movement, every gesture you make. Try to match your gestures to your words more intentionally. Notice how animated or restrained you naturally are.
Day 4. Personal space and positioning. Experiment with standing and sitting distances in different social situations. Notice how closer or further positioning affects the energy of conversations.
Day 5. Facial expression consciousness. Spend the day being aware of what your face is doing. Are you frowning when concentrating? Do you have a resting expression that might seem unfriendly? Practice more intentional facial expressions.
Day 6. Mirroring and rapport building. In every interaction, consciously try to subtly mirror the other person's energy level, posture, and speaking pace. Notice how this affects the connection you feel with them.
Day 7. Integration Day. Put everything together. Use all the awareness you've developed throughout the week in one complete day. Notice how much more conscious and effective your nonverbal communication has become.
Let's discuss something we haven't fully explored yet. Body language in the digital age. How do we communicate nonverbally when so much of our interaction happens through screens, texts, and social media?
This is such a modern challenge. We've created entirely new forms of body language through emojis, typing patterns, response times, and even how we position ourselves in photos. Your digital body language is now part of your personal brand.
Consider response time as a form of body language. Immediately responding to a message can signal enthusiasm or desperation, depending on context. Delayed responses might indicate thoughtfulness or disinterest. These timing patterns communicate just as clearly as facial expressions.
And emojis have become our digital facial expressions. A simple smiley face can completely change the tone of a message. But be careful. Emoji meanings vary across cultures too. A simple thumbs-up emoji might seem enthusiastic to Americans, but passive-aggressive to younger generations.
Here's one final set of listener questions that we simply must address, from Jennifer in Australia. How can I help my teenage daughter understand that her body language might be sending the wrong message to teachers and employers?
Jennifer, this is such an important parenting question. Teenagers often don't realize how their casual body language translates in formal settings. You could practice mock interviews with her, showing her the difference between hanging out with friends posture and professional interaction posture.
From Roberto in Mexico City, I'm learning English, and I notice that my body language changes when I switch languages. Is this normal? Absolutely, Roberto. Language and body language are deeply connected. Many people have slightly different physical expressions in different languages.
From Hassan in Dubai, how important is body language in email communication? Hassan, while you can't see body language in emails, your writing style, formatting, and email structure create a kind of digital body language that communicates your personality and professionalism.
Let me give you our final comprehensive body language mastery checklist. First, always consider cultural context before interpreting body language. Second, establish baselines for people you interact with regularly. Third, read clusters of signals, not individual gestures.
Fourth, practice conscious body language control in low-stakes situations first. Fifth, match your nonverbal communication to your environment and goals. Sixth, remember that authenticity is more important than perfection. People can sense when you're being genuine.
1.
Brian, you're being too logical again. It's never that black and white. Someone might cross their arms because they're cold, comfortable, or trying to think deeply.
Exactly my point. Context matters. Body language should be read in clusters, not individual gestures. You could say it's like reading a sentence instead of just one word.
Perfect analogy. So listeners, repeat after me. I should look for patterns, not single gestures. Say it out loud. Seriously, your brain remembers better when you speak.
Let me give you a concrete example. Yesterday, I was in a coffee shop observing a business meeting. The woman kept touching her neck and looking away.
Ooh, neck touching usually indicates stress or discomfort. But Brian, you can't just stop there. What else did you notice? Her posture? Her breathing?
Well, she was also leaning back, creating distance, and her shoulders were raised. Together, these suggested she might have been uncomfortable with the proposal being discussed.
See? That's what I mean by reading the whole story. Now let's talk about baseline behavior. Brian, you might want to explain why this matters.
Baseline behavior is how someone normally acts. You could miss important signals if you don't know their usual patterns. Some people are naturally fidgety, others naturally still.
Right. My friend Maria always talks with her hands. That's her baseline. But when she's upset, her hands suddenly go completely still. That's when I know something's wrong.
Interesting example, so listeners should observe people they interact with regularly to establish these baselines. It's like becoming a detective of human behavior.
I love that. We're all behavior detectives. Now, let's practice with some vocabulary. Repeat after me. Posture. That's how you hold your body when sitting or standing.
1.
Next word, gesture. Any movement of your hands, arms, or body to express meaning. In English, we have thousands of gestures from waving hello to shrugging, I don't know.
Mirroring is another crucial term. It's when we unconsciously copy someone else's body language. Emily, you could explain why humans do this.
We mirror because we're trying to build rapport and connection. When someone likes you or wants to connect, they'll often mirror your stance, gestures, or even your breathing pattern.
It's fascinating from a psychological perspective. Mirror neurons in our brains fire when we observe actions, helping us understand and empathize with others.
Brian's getting all sciencey on us. But seriously, next time you're talking to someone you like, notice if you naturally start copying their movements. It happens more than you'd think.
Here's a practical exercise for our listeners. This week, you should observe one conversation per day and notice 3 body language signals. Don't judge, just observe.
Yes, and write them down. You might want to keep a small notebook or use your phone. Pattern recognition improves with practice, just like learning vocabulary. Now we're getting to the really exciting part, gestures across cultures. Brian, I think you should start with the most dangerous gesture mistake people make.
Dangerous might be overstating it, Emily, but the OK sign, making a circle with your thumb and index finger, can be highly offensive in Brazil and Turkey.
See? Dangerous. Imagine trying to say everything's fine and accidentally insulting someone. Let's do some role play. Brian, you're an American tourist in Brazil.
Do I have to? Fine. Excuse me, is this the right direction to the beach? And I make the OK sign to show I understand your Portuguese directions.
And now I'm offended. That gesture is extremely rude in Brazil. Brian, you should have used a thumbs up instead, which is universally positive, right?
Actually, Emily, thumbs up isn't universally safe either. In some parts of the Middle East, it's equivalent to giving someone the middle finger. Nothing is truly universal.
This is exactly why I'm passionate about cultural awareness. You could accidentally offend people without meaning to. Let's talk about pointing, another dangerous area.
Pointing with one finger is considered rude in many Asian cultures. In China, you might want to use your whole hand or gesture with your chin instead.
Gesturing with your chin. I love how different cultures solve the same problem. Brian, what about head movements? They vary dramatically too.
In Bulgaria, nodding up and down means no, while shaking side to side means yes. Completely opposite to most Western cultures. Imagine the confusion.
Let's practice this. Listeners, I want you to experience this confusion. Nod your head yes while saying no out loud. It feels weird, doesn't it?
That exercise demonstrates how deeply ingrained these movements are. We learn them so early that they feel automatic. Breaking these patterns requires conscious effort.
Now let's talk about greetings. Brian, you ought to mention how handshakes vary worldwide. Some cultures prefer firm grips, others find them aggressive.
In many Asian cultures, a gentle handshake shows respect, while Americans often prefer a firm grip to show confidence. Both groups could misinterpret the other's intention.
And don't get me started on bowing. In Japan, the depth of your bow indicates respect level. Too shallow might seem dismissive. Too deep might seem sarcastic.
Emily, you're getting excited again, but she's right. Bowing has specific rules. A 15-degree bow for casual greetings, 30 degrees for gratitude, 45 for deep apologies.
See? Brian knows the rules because he's logical. I just feel the emotion behind them. Different approaches, same understanding. That's what makes body language so rich.
Let's give listeners some practical vocabulary. Bow, to bend your head or body forward as a greeting or sign of respect. Repeat it. Bow.
Handshake, the act of grasping someone's hand briefly as a greeting, and grip, how tightly you hold something, in this case, someone's hand.
Here's our cultural safety tip. When in doubt, you should observe locals first, then mirror their greeting style. It shows respect and prevents misunderstandings.
Perfect advice. And here's our audience question from Maria in Madrid. How can I tell if my body language is being misunderstood in international meetings?
Maria, you might want to watch for sudden changes in people's facial expressions, shifts in posture, or if they start creating physical distance from you.
Also, Maria, if the energy in the room suddenly changes after a gesture you made, that could be a sign. Trust your instincts. They're usually right.
Let's move to something everyone can relate to: eye contact and facial expressions. Emily, I think you should start with why eye contact makes people so uncomfortable.
Eye contact is so intimate. It's like looking directly into someone's soul. Some cultures consider prolonged eye contact aggressive, while others see it as honesty and respect.
In Western business culture, Western batch and Western bash, you should maintain eye contact about 70% of the time while listening, 50% while speaking. Too much seems aggressive. Too little seems dishonest.
But Brian, in many African and Asian cultures, children are taught not to make direct eye contact with elders or authority figures. It's a sign of disrespect, not dishonesty.
Exactly why cultural context matters. A respectful student from Korea might seem shifty to an American teacher, while an American student might seem disrespectful to a Korean teacher.
Let's practice reading genuine versus fake smiles. Brian, you could explain the difference between a social smile and a real one.
A genuine smile, called a Duchenne smile, involves both the mouth and the eyes. The muscles around the eyes contract, creating wrinkles or crow's feet.
Right. A fake smile only uses mouth muscles. The eyes stay cold and unengaged. Try it right now. Smile with just your mouth. Now smile with your whole face. Feel the difference?
1.
Now let's talk about micro-expressions. Those tiny, split-second facial expressions that reveal true emotions before we can control them.
Micro-expressions last about 1/25 of a second. Most people miss them completely, but they're incredibly revealing. They show what someone really feels.
It's like catching someone's first reaction before they put on their social mask. Brian, you should explain the 7 universal emotions that show up in micro-expressions.
T1.
Let's practice identifying them. Listeners, think about someone you know well. Can you picture their face showing each of these emotions? Start with happiness.
Good exercise, Emily. Now think about contempt. It's often shown by one corner of the mouth raising slightly. It's subtle but very telling about someone's true feelings.
Ooh, contempt is dangerous in relationships. If you consistently see that expression from someone, it might indicate deep disrespect. That's worth paying attention to.
Emily's getting intense, but she's not wrong. Research shows contempt is one of the strongest predictors of relationship failure. It's worth learning to recognize.
Let's talk about eyebrow movements. They're like punctuation marks for facial expressions. Raised eyebrows often signal surprise, interest, or a question.
The eyebrow flash, a quick raise and lower, is a universal greeting signal. We do it unconsciously when we see someone we recognize or want to acknowledge.
Try this. Next time you're walking down the street and see someone you know, watch for that eyebrow flash. You'll probably do it without thinking.
Here's our vocabulary building segment. Microexpression, a very brief, involuntary facial expression. Duchenne smile, a genuine smile involving the eyes.
Eyebrow flash, a quick raising and lowering of eyebrows as a greeting. And contempt, a feeling of disrespect or disdain, often shown by a slight mouth curl.
Here's our practical tip. You should practice observing faces in low-stakes situations first, like watching movies or people watching in cafes, before applying these skills in important meetings.
Now we're getting into my favorite topic, personal space, posture, and touch. Brian, you might want to start with proxemics, the study of personal space.
Proxemics varies dramatically across cultures. Americans typically need about arm's length for comfortable conversation, but many Latin American cultures prefer much closer distances.
I've seen this cause so much confusion. The Latin American person steps closer to feel friendly, the American steps back to feel comfortable, and both think the other is being rude.
It's called the spatial dance. One person advances, the other retreats, and they end up moving across the entire room without realizing what's happening.
Let's break down the 4 zones of personal space. Brian, you should explain intimate distance first.
Intimate distance is 0 to 18 inches, reserved for family, romantic partners, and very close friends. When strangers invade this space, we feel uncomfortable or threatened.
Personal distance is 18 inches to 4 feet, perfect for friends and casual conversations. This is where most English learners should aim for comfortable social interaction.
Social distance is 4 to 12 feet, ideal for business interactions and formal conversations. Public distance is 12 feet or more, used for presentations and public speaking.
Now let's talk about power postures. Brian, you ought to explain how our posture affects not just how others see us, but how we feel about ourselves.
Research shows that standing in confident poses for 2 minutes actually changes our hormone levels, increasing testosterone and decreasing cortisol. It's called embodied cognition.
So if you're nervous before a presentation, you could literally stand like Superman for 2 minutes, chest out, hands on hips, feet wide, and feel more confident.
Emily, that's surprisingly accurate for once. The mind-body connection is real. If you act confident, you might start feeling confident. It's not just pretending.
Surprisingly accurate for once? Brian, I'm always accurate, just more enthusiastic about it. Anyway, let's practice right now. Listeners, stand up and try the power pose.
Fine, Emily. Listeners, if you're somewhere private, stand with your feet shoulder-width apart, put your hands on your hips, lift your chin slightly, and breathe deeply.
Hold it for 30 seconds. Notice how your body feels. Do you feel more energized, more confident? That's the power of posture affecting your internal state.
Now let's discuss touch across cultures. This is where many English learners get into trouble. In some cultures, touching is normal and friendly. In others, it's invasive.
Mediterranean and Latin American cultures are generally more touch-friendly. Hugs, kisses on cheeks, touching arms during conversation. It shows warmth and connection.
While many Northern European and East Asian cultures prefer minimal physical contact, especially in professional settings, you should observe the local norms before initiating touch.
Here's our audience question from Chen in Beijing. How can I appear more confident in international business meetings without seeming aggressive?
Chen, you might want to focus on open postures. Avoid crossing your arms, keep your hands visible, and maintain gentle but consistent eye contact.
Also, Chen, you should mirror the energy level of the room. If everyone's very formal, match that. If they're more relaxed, you can be too. Read the room first.
Let's build vocabulary. Proxemics, the study of personal space. Intimate distance, the closest zone of personal space, 0 to 18 inches.
Power pose, a confident body position that can influence your mental state. Embodied cognition, the idea that body position affects thinking and feeling.
Here's a practical exercise. This week, you could experiment with adjusting your posture in different situations and notice how it affects your confidence levels.
Time for our modal advice workshop. This is where we help you give better advice using English modal verbs. Brian, you should start with the strongest modals.
Must and have to are the strongest. They indicate necessity. You must maintain eye contact during job interviews, but that might sound too demanding in casual advice.
Right. Should is much gentler and perfect for most advice. You should practice reading facial expressions. It's strong enough to be clear, but soft enough to be friendly.
Could offers options without pressure. You could try mirroring their posture to build rapport. It gives people choice while providing guidance.
And might want to is even gentler. You might want to observe local greeting customs before traveling. It's almost like planting a suggestion rather than giving advice.
Let's practice this with body language scenarios. Emily, someone asks about making friends in a new country. Give advice using different modal strengths.
You should learn the local greeting customs first. You could practice smiling genuinely. It's universal. You might want to observe personal space preferences too.
Good variety, Emily. You used 3 different modal levels: definite advice, optional suggestion, and gentle recommendation. That sounds natural and helpful.
Now let's practice with ought to. It's more formal but less common. You ought to research cultural norms before important business meetings.
Ought to sounds more serious and formal than should. You might use it when the stakes are higher or when addressing someone respectfully.
Let's combine modals with opinion starters. I think you should. In my opinion, you could. If I were you, I might. These make advice feel more personal.
Good point. Opinion starters make advice feel less demanding. I think you should maintain more eye contact. Feels friendlier than just, you should maintain more eye contact.
Now let's practice with conditional advice. If you want to seem more confident, you could try power posing. The if clause makes it feel like a choice.
Conditional advice is very useful. If you're feeling nervous, you might want to practice deep breathing. It acknowledges the person's situation before offering solutions.
Listeners, let's practice. Think of a body language problem you've had. Now give yourself advice using 3 different modal verbs. Try should, could, and might want to.
Here's a comparison exercise. You must stop fidgeting. Sounds harsh. You should try to stay still. Sounds better. You might want to notice when you fidget. Sounds gentle.
Perfect example. The meaning is similar, but the feeling is completely different. Softer modals make people more willing to listen to your advice.
Let's practice with body language comparatives. More confident, less nervous, better eye contact. These help describe gradual improvements rather than absolute changes.
You could try being more relaxed with your posture. You might want to make less intense eye contact. Comparatives make advice feel achievable, not overwhelming.
Our final modal advice tip. You should match your modal choice to your relationship with the person. Stronger modals for close friends, gentler ones for new acquaintances.
We've reached our final section, and I want to end with something viral and memorable. Brian, we need to create quotes that people will remember and share.
Emily, you're so focused on going viral. But fine, let's give people something quotable. How about, your body speaks before you do. Make sure it's saying what you mean.
I love that. Here's mine. Every culture has a different body language, but every body tells the truth. That captures the universal and cultural aspects we've discussed.
Not bad, Emily. Here's another. Confidence isn't about what you say. It's about how you carry yourself while saying it. That connects posture to communication.
Ooh, and this one. You might think you're hiding your feelings, but your shoulders are telling a different story. Bodies don't lie, even when we want them to.
Let's create our ultimate body language wisdom. Master your body language, and you'll master the room. Simple, memorable, and actionable.
Yes, but here's my favorite. The most important conversation you'll ever have might happen without saying a single word. That's the power of nonverbal communication.
Emily, that's actually quite profound. For once. Let me give you our practical takeaways. First, observe before you judge. Context always matters in body language.
Second, cultural awareness is crucial. What's polite in one culture could be offensive in another. Always research local customs before traveling or working internationally.
Third, your posture affects your mindset. If you want to feel confident, stand confidently. The mind-body connection is real and powerful.
Fourth, practice makes perfect. You should observe body language daily, in movies, at cafes, during conversations. The more you practice, the better you'll become.
And finally, remember that body language is a conversation, not a monologue. You're both sending and receiving signals constantly. Pay attention to both directions.
Now for our viral moment. Listeners, I want you to comment below with your best body language advice using modal verbs. Start with you should, you could, or you might want to.
And share this episode with someone who needs to improve their nonverbal communication skills. We all know someone who could benefit from better body language awareness.
Before we end, let's repeat our most important phrase together. Ready? Cultural awareness prevents misunderstandings. Say it with us.
And here's our final challenge. For the next week, you should try the power pose before any important conversation or meeting. Notice how it changes your confidence level.
Remember, your body language journey doesn't end here. It's a lifelong skill that gets better with practice. You've got this.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through the fascinating world of body language. Emily's enthusiasm and my logical approach hopefully gave you a complete picture.
Until next time, remember, your body is always talking. Make sure it's saying something worth listening to. I'm Emily.
And I'm Brian. Keep reading the room, and more importantly, keep learning. See you next time.